Bentayga is the first of its kind. An ultra high-end SUV that lives in exceptionally rarefied air. The machine starts at a staggering £160,000 before options, but it rarely stays there.
It might seem risky, but with SUV sales where they are, it's not really that great of a risk. The Bentayga is probably going to sell well because the appetite for SUVs is insatiable.
What might be risky for some is regular business for others. The brand is the leading ultra-premium car manufacturer. 1 out of every 4 machines sold above £130,000 is a Bentley.
It's important to show that Britain has still got a premium manufacturing product. The fact that Bentley is still here, still British, is a great advert for us.
It's important to keep manufacturing alive, especially in Britain. We don't want everybody to go to university and sit in office jobs, office jobs. But yeah, manufacturing is really important. People need to focus on it. We need manufacturers.
Bentley is this big name, handmade materials, stitching leather, putting it all together by hand, built in England. And working here, you see how true it is, and it's awesome.
There's extreme nationalistic pride when you see one of these cars go by, no matter where you are in the world. Fortunately, they're still very rare, so even though our volumes are much higher than they've ever been, it's still a very exclusive offering.
The machines are famous for their exclusivity, yet the impact of the factory on Crewe and the United Kingdom is far more widespread.
It's the biggest employer in the area by a long way, and the whole local economy really does thrive on Bentley being here.
The fact that it's made here at Crewe, it's always been made here. I'm 48 and it's always been in the town as long as I can remember. I've got relatives that used to work here many years ago. I work here myself. The town's very proud of Bentley.
This plant offers thousands of jobs, so it's something I wouldn't be able to find somewhere like this to work local other than Bentley. It creates so many jobs.
I believe 80–90% of our product is exported. So yeah, it's massive. It's known throughout the world. You can go anywhere in the world and people will know the brand Bentley. It's iconic.
This area would be devastated without this factory. You know, there's not a great lot else really around here. So it's very important. It's good for jobs in the whole area, really. You know, for miles around, 30–40 mile radius.
The Crewe factory is highly integrated. Design, engineering, paint, leather, wood, engine building, and final assembly all happen on the same site.
You come to do a good day's work, an honest day's work. And that's what people do here.
The facility is roughly the same size as the Vatican, at just over 400,000 square meters.
We make cars in a completely different way. We're our own first-tier supplier, so many of the components that are made here then go into our cars.
One of those first-tier suppliers is the one-of-a-kind leather shop.
It's a semi-alloy leather, so you can see it's got some marking up where we've already looked for the natural characteristics. Then you take here, then we've got a full-grain leather again, so this is beluga. This one here, you can slightly see better in the light, but this is what they call a burnt oak.
There are 24 different standard leathers, and each Bentayga requires 15 hides to complete a cabin.
We lay it out on the hide inspection table here, and then we start marking out what we would call as the natural characteristics of the bull hide itself.
David Legg is a master hide inspector and the man who ensures perfection.
Been here 13 years, look after you. Just enjoy doing what we're doing. Basically, we're looking for any imperfections on the hide, bites, scars, moles, any surface wounds, basically, and then we just mark up the flaws.
The process might be old world British, but the hides actually come from Sweden, because that country outlawed barbed wire fences, which minimizes the risk of blemishes.
Like I've got a scar here that'll be a B4. We can use the hide in the car, so we can utilise, get more parts in, but it may not be seen. This C4 here, obviously, is a really bad crease. We don't want that in the car.
Each hide is paired with a build manifest sheet.
That would say what colour thread we'd be using, what colour hide we'd be using. So that's basically a work instruction sheet.
Marked hides head to a robotic cutter, where a camera takes a picture and a computer identifies the best layout.
So literally that image will allow us then to nest probably around about 380 panels that go into a Bentayga. We've got the 2 cutting heads. It's a reciprocating blade to ensure the accuracy of the panels.
It takes 65 minutes to cut a panel.
We've inspected the leather, we've cut the leather, we've now split them into a car set, and these panels there will go towards the seat assembly line once they've been sewn.
The sewing starts with a very special diamond quilting machine.
This is new technology. We've taken some of the cut panels now, and we use this automated sewing machine. That ensures the consistency and the accuracy of the panel.
The machine uses a lot of thread. Each cabin requires 135 meters.
This is where we embroider the Bentley wings, for example, onto the front face of a headrest that goes into the car. There's around 4,760 stitches that go into the wings.
It takes just 7 minutes to embroider a headrest.
This is the sewing area within the trim shop. You can see there's lots of sewing machinists who are very skilled in what they do.
Threading the needle at the moment. I think it's the craftsmanship, and when you're actually out and about and see your work and you know that you've had a hand in it, and that, it's very rewarding. I sew the inserts. It's very intricate, and obviously we have to keep very straight lines because we're going up the centre here.
After the various panels are sub-assembled, it's time to stitch them all together to form a complete seat cover.
A car comes along and all our bits are in this box, and then we have a process of how to sew the seats, and we just get pieces out at a time as and when we want them. You just have to make sure you get all your seats on. I think if you get stressed about it, you get workshop, then you can make mistakes. You just have to keep calm.
To keep the artisanal sewing tradition alive, they hand the knowledge down to the next generation.
It can take years to actually get up to a very high level. We take on apprentices each year in the trim shop.
I found out about the apprenticeship, and then that's all I've worked towards through school to get to here.
We can take somebody that's never actually sewn 2 pieces of leather before, we can turn them into something special.
I do like cross-stitch, I've got to say. I really am enjoying it.
Cross-stitching is one of the most labour-intensive upgrades.
So mooring is taking a needle and thread and going in between each stitch line, each sew line on the seat cover itself.
It takes one artisan over 56 hours to cross-stitch a single set of interior panels.
So you've got one continual thread, so no knots, no breaks or anything. You use just the twin stitching, so you don't actually go through the leather. So you go on a diagonal, and just go through each stitch.
Finally, all of the one-of-a-kind craftsmanship comes together on the seat assembly line.
There's around about 8 stations on here. Within an hour, one seat would come off the end of the line.
Eight stations within an hour is speedy by Bentley standards. Yet there's very little stress and the passion is palpable.
Pride, a great pride. We do have a lot of famous, wealthy people coming through the factory, so it is nice to see these people and also seeing the products on the TV and in the streets as well.
This is my sort of 30th year now. Wouldn't do anything different, don't know anything different, love what I do.
Yeah, this is my first time doing it.
Ah, right. And so why is this important?
My uncle used to work here. He was here for over 30 years, and then I worked my way up.
The seats look finished, but there's one more step.
There's a number of things that we're looking for. We're looking for scars on the leather, because we purchased the best leather to go onto the seats. We're also checking the stitching, any visible gaps, and also we're checking for the colour of the stitching as well.
The quality control team uses a sophisticated computer system to log any imperfections.
This is a flags terminal. Any faults that we find, we can highlight on the screen, and then if we're unable to rectify any of the faults, then we can leave the defects open and then they can get rectified.
While the sewing team labours over each stitch, on the other side of the crew site, Rob Thompson leads an even more colourful team inside the paint shop.
I started as a technical apprentice. At the time, it was the industrial area, so there were quite a few factories, but the Bentley apprenticeship was considered the premium one.
It takes around about a day and a half for a body to be fully primed and painted.
The finish on a Bentley is a little bit above and beyond. Our customers expect nothing less than the best.
Chemically pre-treated bodies enter the base coat booth, where robotic heads spin up to 55,000 revolutions per minute. Sometimes they spray one of the 17 standard colours. But they're also capable of nearly 28 trillion bespoke hues.
If it's technically feasible, we can match anything. So we've had Hawaiian shirts, lipsticks to match. We've had some different options.
Once the base layer is applied, it's time for some clear coat. As the bodies pick up their colour, so do the plastics. First with a base coat, and then with their own clear coat.
I mean, a lot of the guys in here can see a car on the TV and say, I've worked on that car. There is an element of pride with it. It's always about the pride.
Finally, it's time to send a painted body to the assembly hall, where it will take another 150 hours to build a Bentayga.